Welcome back to Let's Play Metroid Other M. We've learned of our goal, we've learned what we absolutely have to do. And a little sad to say, we're still pretty heavily restricted as far as where we can go and what we can do. We just came up from down there, and there's still a bunch of items, even in Area 1, that it would be super cool if we could get. But the door is still locked. A bit arbitrarily, but they also want to make sure that we do a couple things along the way. This specific part of the game is heavily restrictive as far as where you can go. But once we're done with what's coming up here soon, we should have free reign to go pretty much everywhere. Don't care. The space jump. The space jump is not nearly as broken as it was in Super Metroid as far as just letting you go anywhere. You cannot gain height with it after the initial jump. I have the initial jump, and after that, during that jump, I can jump to get even higher. You cannot gain height after that jump. Even if I press the jump button again and hold it in, she will not do the next jump until she hits the point at which she will stop gaining height from it. So the most I can do is that, and then I will always stay at this height. So you can gain a little bit of height initially, but that's about it. So this also serves as a form of double jump, to gain you just a little bit more height than you could get out of a regular jump. So that's kind of neat and stuff. Oh yeah, this room again. Oh, these guys have more health. I can't just screw about it. You know what? Fudge them then. If the plasma beam and the screw attack isn't enough to stop you, then, oh, wow. Didn't realize I was doing that. But, one interesting thing of note, actually, I'll, get to that in a second. Because this guy's back, again. Only this time, we've got the plasma beam. And the ice beam, and the wave beam. And you know what else we've got? We've got super missiles. Though we didn't need them. And this is yet another power-up that we gain that we simply could not have if we used only what we had from Super Metroid. The Seeker Missile. The Seeker Missile works a lot like the Diffusion Missile in Metroid Prime, where you fire, you hold down the button, and while you're holding it down, you have to lock onto something, of course, first in order to get the thing. You can lock onto multiple targets at once, and it'll shoot a missile at all of them. Nice stuff. Speaking of Metroid Prime, something of interesting note is the writer for this game is kind of the guy in charge of the Metroid series as a whole, and he's been the head writer, and I think even the chief developer, though don't quote me on that, for every single Metroid game except for the Prime series. Which then makes sense as to why the Prime series, canonically, kind of stands out a little bit weird, because though Retro made some really great games with the Prime series, there's a couple things they did that did take Metroid canon in a way that perhaps the original developer and the guy sort of in charge of Metroid hadn't intended. This game then is sort of trying to get them back on track, or just ignoring them outright, one way or the other. But that's sort of why it stands out so much. Now, we do have an objective, though we were never actually told where exactly it was. It's in Sector 2, and it's right there. Now, this is kind of neat, because granted we were kind of restricted going back through Sector 1, primarily because I think they really wanted us to fight that guy to get the Seeker Missile. But, once we get to Sector 2, we kind of have free reign in Sector 2. They're not going to let us go to Sector 3, though, are they? No. We have free reign to explore in Sector 2. Granted, we've kind of always had free reign to explore in Sector 2. But, what you gonna do?
This elevator is bound for Sector 2.
That's why I got in it. You can even tell a little bit of a different, story philosophy when comparing... Are there any items I need in here that I can get? Because I know where we need to go. But you can tell there's a little bit of a design philosophy difference. Oh, you're new. Between the games. And, in most of the Metroids, the whole story with the space pirates and Ridley and Mother Brain and all of that is generally very small form and deals with Samus and Samus's personal story. So this is largely a fight for her each step of the way. Even the space pirates, they were generally very small form, and once they were established and finished and taken care of, that's kind of the end of that. And on one hand, I can appreciate that story, because it has wrapped up the story with the space pirates and it's done, and it now gives them a chance to go out and explore new things with Samus and her adventures. On the other hand, what Retro was doing was actually making the space pirates out to be a much larger, more constant threat that couldn't simply be solved and dealt with that quickly. Which then leads to a recurring enemy. Oh, sup! Then leads to a recurring enemy with them that can be brought back and expanded upon and dealt with in future Metroid games and future Metroid story. So I think it's interesting because on one hand what Retro did was it laid down the grounds for a continuous future threat. Oh, more of you guys that I can't kill. This is where we're headed, by the way. This is the only door we've seen thus far that required the Seeker Missile to open. I'm going to charge up a Super Missile, and then fire a missile at all of them. And now we can go through. Ah, gamers. I'm trying to dash, I'm trying to dash. Oh, that's different. Well, everything is mostly the same, it's just upside down. Because somebody is having a lot of fun with gravity. So, on one hand, like, Retro laid down the grounds for a lot of future content and dealing with a recurring kind of threat, even with Ridley in that regard. Whereas many of the other Metroid games were, ooh boy. Oh man, now I'm heavy. It's gonna be stomping. Whereas those were more addressing an immediate story, and they wrapped up and finished that story, and I sort of like that, if only because it now gives us the chance to, get off me, get off me, get it off me, get it off me. Get it off me! It's eating me! Oh, I think somebody in the chat mentioned that the enemies that worked a lot like that in the Prime series were called Shriek Bats. In Super Metroid, they were called Screes. But, hopefully, with Samus's story effectively told and wrapped up at this point, though, yeah, shut up. I would like to think that they could then go on and introduce some new threats, and some new fancy things. Tired of your crap! There's an item up there, and I want it, but I can't get it, because I can't jump that high. Frickin' high gravity. Be nice if I had something to do with gravity, man. But I guess I can get by. Oh, you're big. Okay, so I can't jump that high, but I do still have a grappling beam. And thankfully I can still wall jump, and I'm not entirely sure how. I'm gonna jump on you. It didn't work. I'll just shoot you. Now you can space jump even in the high gravity, but you have to mash the button a lot faster, since the timing is different between you getting to the peak of your jumps. And it's generally a lot harder to keep up that peak jumping. Man, it's so freaking heavy in here. You know, it'd be super cool if I had something like some kind of suit that negated gravity. Oh, I'm moving normal speed. Well, I guess I don't need it then. I don't like long, narrow rooms. They make me think something's gonna happen. Oh, save point. That was something that happened. Yeah, this next room is what I think it is, which means, despite that we're not super far into this video, I'm actually going to wrap it up here. Next time we're going to see a lot of interesting things. Until then, everyone.